This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today we're going to talk about my experiences with the assessor in the town of Palermo, Oswego County. Um, I'm on the assessor's webpage right now, and as you can see here, it says David Roach, office hours on Monday 4 to 7 p.m. So on Monday I called him at approximately 5 p.m. and he answered the phone. And I asked him if he had time to discuss my assessment. He had pinned the last year's purchase price as the assessment, and I wanted to discuss with him the ramifications of that selective assessment, so on and so forth. And he said that he did not, that he was working on matters for other townships. And he coped an attitude with me. He was dismissive, and he was rude, and we didn't get off on the right foot at all. Told me that I could call based on the assessment notice that I'd received in the mail. So the next day I called, and the notice, was rather ambiguous. It says to call to set an appointment, for these times. Well, apparently, so I called up. He answered the phone, and again, he says, no, you need to call during those times in order to schedule an appointment. So here he is talking to me twice, and he can't be bothered to schedule an appointment or talk about it. And so that's fine. I've got to wait another week to be able to schedule that hearing. But we got talking about selective assessment, and he told me that I didn't know what I was talking about. And well, whether or not I do or do not know what I'm talking about is not relevant. He is a public servant, and he shouldn't be talking to taxpayers in that manner. It's just highly unprofessional. He tells me he's been an assessor for 30 years, and that kind of concerns me. Is that if he's been doing this for 30 years and that's how he talks to taxpayers, it's kind of concerning. It's kind of the problem. He doesn't seem to understand that he works for the taxpayers, not the other way around, and he appears to be treating taxpayers and hurting them like cattle, and it's just not the way it's supposed to work. But we'll get into whether or not his pinning purchase price is appropriate. He's suggesting that he's got it on 100%, and that that he's allowed to pin the purchase price on there. My suggestion is that if he does pin that purchase price, he can do that. But if he does that, he needs to show how comparable properties were brought in line with that particular purchase. And so maybe he can do that, and maybe he can't. And but he needs the burden of proof switches to him to establish that. And I just don't see how it is that he's going to be able to do that. For another thing, it's well documented case law that a recent sale, if at arm's length and not abnormal in any way, is best indication to value at that time. And 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 what I'm suggesting is that the sale was abnormal, um, and and he knows nothing about the sale, whether it's normal or not. He just pinned the sale to it, without knowing. There's also other issues as far as the inventory is concerned, and how he is calculating things. And my guess is that I'm going to ask him questions as to how he had assessed the property previously, how he came to the figure that he did. And my guess is that he will evade explaining that. And you would think after 30 years, of all the expertise that he has garnered over the course of 30 years, that he could explain something simple like that. But he's not going to want to explain it, because his idea of valuation is that it's so because I said so. He will not want to substantiate his figures, because he can't substantiate his figures. And so, I don't expect the conversation to go, that well with this guy, but we'll give him an opportunity. I'll set the appointment, and we'll see what it is that he has to say. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to document all of his behaviors, and then when we're all said and done, I intend to relay those behaviors to the town board, to the town supervisor, to the town attorney, and to all the various townships that he does, work for, and have them review whether or not that they think that that's appropriate behavior. I don't think that it is, but but maybe he'll hit the reset button, and maybe he was having a bad day, and maybe he can start again and try to get this thing correct. In this particular assessment, it's not so much about what the figure comes out, because it's really inconsequential one way or another. It's just the way that he's handling things, and basically I'm testing him to see if he's behaving properly, and to see if he's treating all the taxpayers properly. And so far, it doesn't look like he is. It's just his attitude is extremely poor, and something is leading him to believe that he can talk to taxpayers this way. Something is leading him to believe that it's appropriate. I'm going to be filing a Freedom of Information law request for his data, and we'll see if he attempts to evade that. It's pretty common for assessors to do that. They want to cover for the fact that they actually haven't done a valuation. Printing a purchase price as an assessment, for one, it can be a violation of welcome stranger selective assessment. It's not legal. He's going to try to find ways to justify why it is that he did that. But basically, it's what lazy assessors do. And he didn't want to take the time to do the valuation properly. And I understand when you have hundreds and sometimes thousands of properties to work on, mass assessment techniques are necessary. But when a taxpayer thinks that there's an issue, it's his job to look into whether or not they may have a valid argument. And I don't expect him to roll over. His job is to have an opinion of value, but his job is to look at it, and if he agrees, make an adjustment. If he disagrees, he should very politely point out the appeal options, and let the appeal options take their course. It's nothing to get defensive about. It's nothing to get antagonistic about. It's just a simple process, and his job is customer service, and he needs to remember that. But so that's how things are going in the town of Palermo so far. A lot of these small towns, the board is and the supervisor have very little experience as to how assessors are supposed to behave. I've participated in cases in 15 counties with dozens of assessors, so I have a broader view of what's going on, and so they probably don't even know what's appropriate, or how these things are handled, and so they probably just let him do whatever it is that he's doing, but that's not the way it's supposed to work. Taxpayers should be treated like customers, respect and dignity, and it's his obligation to address the matter professionally, and courteously, and with some level of competence. But anyway, that's my experience with the town of Palermo assessor. Again, his name is David Roach, and I'm gonna have to find out what other towns that he's assessor in, and see what he's been up to. But that's how he is behaving as of March 4th, 2022. Again, this is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy. 315-876-2262.